information you don't realize. So let's examine with a critical eye. Put on your glasses and let it magnify the truth that lies hidden under all those lies. Cause everybody has nobility, and if you look beyond what your eyes can see, you'll see they're just like you and me, and now we're giving you the remedy. Welcome to the Remedy Podcast. This podcast is a project of WEBB Squared, a North Carolina nonprofit that works to increase wealth for Black businesses through connection, network, and opportunity. Our host is Stephanie Terry, the Executive Director of WEBB Squared, and our co-hosts are Associate Director Rennie Orr and myself, Mashallah Salam. I am the Media and Production Specialist. In this podcast, we hope to bring consciousness to the racial divide and speak on emerging new narratives about race. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you will enjoy the podcast.
We should not start off this podcast laughing every time.
I think it's like charming. That means that we're having fun and people are like, oh my gosh, I wonder what was happening before they started recording.
Nothing, just giggles. Just the giggles.
Well, so since we're giggling it out, how are you all doing tonight? Mashallah, Stephanie, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Good to see y'all too, but you know what? We got to move this back to the morning. It's the winter time, and as soon as it gets dark, I get sleepy.
Well, it gets dark so early too, because we just switched the time zones again. So,
Mashallah, have you ever gone to bed at 6 o'clock?
Not that I can remember. Maybe a nap, but.
No, baby, this is the bed is the party.
So what's been happening in you all's lives this week? I've been getting ready for a night bazaar, and I've been making art like crazy. So that's been fun.
So you have a lot of new paintings?
Yeah, probably 40 or so. They're little ones though. They're just tiny ones, and I've been having so much fun with them. I think when the new year starts, so I might be moving from big to small. I really love doing the small ones. I can do a whole bunch in one weekend, and it's been so much fun.
Wow.
Awesome. Well, I don't know, what have I been doing? We've been working. We have been working, meeting people and working and thinking, but I made an incredible dinner tonight. It was so good. I made vegan black bean walnut burgers.
Oh, wow.
It was so good.
And you were saying it was your own recipe, you made it up from scratch.
Yeah, it was from scratch. It's so good. Anytime my chef, steak and potatoes husband was like, this is the best burger.
That's cool.
This is the best burger ever.
Wow. Man, now I want to try it.
I'll save you one. You know what? I'll put one in the freezer for you, Mashallah, and then you can take it home and cook it.
Okay.
Because we have extra, and it's just the two of us. It's just the two of us.
I hope
can make it. Go ahead, Rennie.
This means we're not going to lose you to go back into catering, though, because I really like working WEBB Squared. Although I would come hang out in the kitchen with you, you'd have to hire me in the kitchen. I'll just flip burgers or whatever it is you do back there.
Listen, cooking at home for 2 people and catering for 100 is 2 totally different things. Not happening.
Right.
Question: mac and cheese or mashed potatoes?
Mashed
Baked
potatoes.
Mac and cheese.
Mashed potatoes.
If it's baked, and if it's I like mashed potatoes, but baked mac and cheese over mashed potatoes.
Collard greens or green beans?
Green bean casserole all the way.
Rennie, you're just stepping into a stereotype now.
So it's just that, okay, so my family, I grew up on a ranch, and we had and potatoes, and I have inherited this love of potatoes. Like I would not have been able to survive the Irish potato famine.
But mashed potatoes over mac and cheese?
Oh my God, of course.
Oh, really?
Even if it's baked?
Mashed potatoes is my like life. I love potatoes. They're my thing.
Oh, wow.
Okay, what else? All right. So when I lived in Pennsylvania with the Quakers, they made mashed potato stuffing, like dressing balls. So it was like mashed potatoes mixed with bread, like how you make your stuffing. It was pretty good.
Huh.
Oh.
Interesting.
Did they put gravy on it?
They put gravy on the balls.
And then they bake them. Did they bake the potatoes? And how did they? I think we're losing it here. All right. So yeah.
You walked into that one, Mashallah. You made me say that.
Mashallah, what did you do this past week?
This week, I've been working with partners in racial justice, and so I've been making flyers and invitations and meetings, and I think we meet probably almost every day. What I really enjoy about this organization is that they say prayers in the meetings, and it's like, I just thought that was really amazing that they take the time to pray in the meetings, and they really care a lot about what they're doing.
Nice.
Okay, well, it's been nice to kind of catch up. We are moving right along. We have a guest tonight, and Stephanie, what are we talking about tonight?
So tonight, we're going to be talking about our identities, our cultural identities, and how we experience the intersection of identities, everything about who we believe we are, who we say we are. So this should be really, really interesting. So if somebody asks you, who are you? Like, how do you answer that?
Cool.
And the way that you answer determines everything. We're going to hear from amazing Soteria. Should be fun. Yeah, so Soteria, we are so glad that you said yes to join us on our podcast. You are an amazing sister, a poet, an activist, an entrepreneur, a child of God, just a dope female. So
thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
all of the things. And you and I have stood in the streets together, right?
Oh yeah.
And so I really do love you and admire you. And so we wanted to invite you on. So let me just give you some of the themes. Tonight we're talking about identity and intersections and how important it is. And what does that mean when someone asks, who are you? And what we're trying to get at this season is just like, our belief systems, like who people have said that we are, who we truly are. Kim Pevia, she's a Native American woman trainer out of Robeson County, North Carolina. And we were in a space with her, and she said, we're all just living in the white man's imagination. She said this whole world was created from that perspective. And so we have the ability to create new worlds if we really understand where things come from. And so we're focusing on that. Like we make our institutions, like everything comes from a thought first. And so we're just like unpacking the mind. And what does that mean? If everything that you can think of that's material comes from somebody's imagination. And then somebody believed in it. And then you acted on it, right? And so there's so many implications with that. And so we just kind of want to, we're not answering all of that right now, but we're hoping to just like really hear, your perspective, and just kind of weigh in on our identities. Let's kind of start there because it's just such a critical question. So let me just ask, and then we'll all just talk about it. Who is everybody? Who are you, Soteria?
And I think it's really great because if you know Soteria and you know her website, it's I am Soteria. So I'm very excited to hear what that means and who you are.
Yeah, so when my mom named me, I asked her, I said, did you know the definition of what Soteria meant? And she always claims that she does, but there was no Google. So I told her, I think that's I have a poem that talks about the greatest gift my mother ever gave me, which is the 7 letters of my name. Soteria is Greek by origin, and it means salvation and deliverance. And so naturally, I feel that I've been put on this earth to help free people from, we were talking about dominant narratives today in our nonprofit with the kids, because when you can't name yourself, the world and society will do that for you. And so then you start to fall into what people call you. For instance, I always use the example of in America, Black people have only been called what white people name us. So if you think about Negro, African American, Black, those are all things that some white person somewhere was like on the census, these are all the things that we should go through. So I identify as espresso by race. I feel like I'm a good, just beautiful cup of coffee, give you some energy. And at the end of you giving everything you got, you just gonna crash and need some rest from it. So that's how I identify racially. And I did an exercise, it may have been like a few years ago now, but one of the questions was, what is your citizenship? And I put forced, because my people did not have a choice whether we came or whether we went. And I was forced to be here. And I feel like if I had a native land, I'd claim New Zealand, because I personally found a peace that I had never experienced when I went there in that country. There were not a lot of Black people there, but the freedom I felt walking the streets, the freedom I felt sleeping, it was something that I've never experienced before in America. And so part of, I think my identity is unlearning my identity, honestly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so giving myself an opportunity, I remember when I went to Germany, that was through the United Church of Chapel Hill. And it was my first time being out the country. And very quickly, I realized that even though there was a language barrier, music and song and love can transcend any language. I mean, it is a language in and of itself. And so while we were singing songs in English and I was on poetry in English, you have people who, English is not their first language. Some can't even explain, or understand what I'm saying, but it was the feeling in listening and seeing people cry while I'm just singing, when I've been in places where people wouldn't even let me sing because I didn't sing good enough. Mm-hmm. And so the piece around identity, I think for me has always been to give myself permission to restart, to evolve again, to, find myself moving from one place to another that helps shape not necessarily who I am, but who I like to say I was always destined to be. That's the person I'm trying to always meet. It's her, not really the one that's right here right now.
I totally can relate to that. I feel like that there is a me, there's a true me inside of a me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm 52, and finally, just like even recognizing that I get to decide, like I actually can decide to allow who I am to emerge. And it doesn't have to be based on all these ways I was brought up and what people call me and all the experiences that I've internalized, trying to be, either buck up against what I look like and what I've been called, or just confused about it all, So I get that. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I definitely agree and understand that feeling of being in a space where there is this person that I know that I am deep down inside and striving to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a hard one. Just kind of like unpacking like the journey, because I am 51 now. I just turned 51. And the person that I've believed that I have always believed that I was has surprised me in so many ways over the last couple of years. And you know, it's like, huh. I'm different than it's like, even though I still hold on to a lot of that identity, there's a part of me in the last couple of years have discovered that I'm deeper than I had thought. And that if this is true for me, it's true for everybody. And how do we help people open themselves up, and free themselves to become the people that they are supposed to be and are meant to be in this world?
And also not getting caught up in the negative as well, because, people can say really great things about you and you still have a hard time believing it because you're so stuck on like that one negative thing. So having to, I guess, retrain your brain to not be so set on just those small negative things and to remember that there are so many positive things about you that people see as well.
So I'm just going to take it there. I'm just going to go there. So I know we've been talking about our race and, here's what I'm trying to say is that this I am, because I love the way this I am. My new mantra is I have a body, right? But I am not just a body. Y'all following me? I have a body. I inhabit a body, but I'm not just a body. And for me, that's like so much confusion and fear and powerlessness arises when human beings identify only with the physical part of who they are, And I understand why we do it, because it's the things that we can touch, feel, see, smell, hear, it's the thing that we live in. But we're more than that. We're not just that. And if we begin to really understand that, everything changes. Everything changes. You're able to tap into power you never knew you had. Everything changes. Even how we look at death, everything changes. So what do y'all think about that? This is just my thought. I may be completely wrong, but I would love to hear what y'all have to think about that.
I have this quote I'd like to read. It's from the book called Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. And this for me was one of the first time I'm still learning to have language around what I'm feeling. I realized how deprived I was of being able to name the places that I've been in. And after that trip from Germany, it was the first time I had been introduced to my humanity. Because in America, I put myself in danger if I don't realize that I'm Black above anything else. And then I'm a woman. And then if I'm lucky, I'm seen as a human. And so I had never even felt humanity until my early 30s when I went to another country where no one follows me around in a store. I had my backpack. I was a tourist and, people were very happy to see me, Black. I had long hair, braids or something in my head, just feeling so welcome. And that was something that I had never experienced before internally. And then I started doing more and more racial equity work. And I came across one of my mentors, Felicia Morel, posted this. She said, "You know that there are no Black people in Africa." She said, "Most Americans wean on the myth of drawable lines between human beings. Have to sit with that statement. It sounds nonsensical, to our ears. Of course, there are Black people in Africa. There's a whole continent of Black people in Africa. How could anyone not see that? Africans are not Black, she said. They are Igbo and Yoruba, Iwi, and she just starts naming these tribes. They are not Black, they are just themselves. They are humans on the land. That is how they see themselves, and that is who they are. What we take as gospel in American culture is alien to them, she said. They don't become Black until they go to America or come to the UK. It is then that they become Black. I was in the making of a new world that Europeans became white, Africans Black, and everyone else yellow, red, or brown. It was in the making of the new world that humans were set apart on the basis of what they look like, identified solely in contrast to one another, and ranked to form a caste system based on a new concept called race. It was in that process of ranking that we were all cast into assigned roles of meeting the needs of the larger production. None of us are ourselves. And that's Isabel Wilkerson. The first time I heard that, I still get chills because, again, it's another reminder of unlearning for me about what I think about myself. In 2019, 2 weeks before the pandemic hit, I did a show at the Harbor River Ballroom, and it was called Black Friday. And it was about redefining Black. In the beginning of that show, I showed the Muhammad Ali video where he was being interviewed, and he talks about how America has made everything Black bad. And he uses the black cat, he uses darkness, he just starts naming all these things where Black is bad. And so when you start to name yourself something, talking about the I'm huge on affirmations. I had to start calling myself something different that I hadn't seen, that I hadn't experienced. But what I was calling myself, it kept me into this identity of my race and not my humanity. And it definitely didn't keep me into my spirit as well. And so when I've struggled with my name a little bit throughout the years because I identify as spiritual. And so I don't identify with a particular religion, and salvation is normally associated with Christianity. And in the work that I've done as an artivist, some of the most beautiful compliments, I don't even know what to call them because there's so much more than that, have been from people who don't believe in God. And that to me has been so freeing that someone could recognize a divine presence without believing in a divine presence. And so when you talk about us being more than our flesh in this framework, I definitely identify with that part of my spirit. It's necessary. That's the only way I can survive in these streets.
Seriously. And you know, next season we taking it to the church. So you may have to come back because we haven't had a new definition of God in 5,000 years.
Oof.
And this definition that we have right now, you know, stood side by side with all the injustice and exploitation. You feel me? So yeah, it's time to grow.
Yeah. Bro.
It's time to grow. Mashla, I saw your eyebrows go up. Talk to me.
Oh, I was just thinking, oh, we're waiting all the way till next season to talk about that.
I mean, if you want to talk about something now, go right ahead.
I mean,
you know how we do.
I just know that the conversation is definitely going to come up way before then. I think we even talked about it last season a little bit.
It was it.
Talked about the church and God and spirituality. And I think I brought up living situations and people who are living in places that are just torn apart. And a lot of that has been because of government influence. If you look at the crack epidemic and how that came about, and then going back to the idea of, well, God probably wants me to be in this situation so that I can learn from it, and not really realizing that there are people who are, I guess, so-called in power that brought that situation onto you. And it wasn't because God wanted you to go through it. And so it takes the blame away from the people that are actually causing harm.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. And every time you talk about that, it just brings up like all these different perspectives, like ways, like things that I would love to like illuminate. And I think what it's bringing up for me now is that, you talked about the people in power and the way that God was presented, the way that Christianity in America was given to Black people was just a complete distortion. And do y'all know there was a Black Bible? Did you know that?
That they gave specifically to enslaved people?
Yes. And it was like, so I don't know how many books are in the Bible, but as a matter of fact,
66.
I got it right here.
It's 66 books, but they didn't put all the books that were in the Bible in the Bible.
The religious instruction of the Negroes in the United States, like it was just I want to call it, there's a book called An Unholy Bible, because it was like so many books taken out, scriptures taken out, like completely distorted, and the theology, like the way that God was taught and the way that the stories were shared were so that kidnapped and enslaved Africans would not be able to access or even recognize the mechanisms of power, to be able to question, what they were experiencing. Because as soon as you begin to question the narrative, that is the beginning of revolution. Like as soon as you're able to say, hold up, wait a minute, and talk it over with whoever's next to you saying, hold up, wait a minute, what's going on here? That is the beginning of the end. As long as we don't question, as long as we continue to believe, which is the most powerful thing that we could do, put our faith in whatever it is that is happening, whether it's through fear or worry, whatever. When we do that, we give up our ability to create, to create. And so that's why this whole conversation about like identity, like, who are you, and emerging new names and new thoughts about how you answer that question is the beginning. It really is. And the more that we can remember our humanity and not these made up constructs that somebody made up because they had an agenda, right? And they wanted to basically just make money off of, how can we make money off of as many people as possible forever?
And about that and not knowing our stories, there are people that actually believe that Black people are cursed by God and that Black people are meant to go through these struggles because of some kind of like wrongdoing or curse. And that comes from that kind of religious teaching, probably from that book you were just mentioning.
Yeah. Rennie, what you thinking?
Oh, I don't know, just about how much work we have to do. That the revolution you're talking about, yeah, you're right. It begins with dialogue, but then once you're like on that path, you can't go back and ignore it. You can't go back and unsee it. And then, it's just like you have to keep taking the conversation out into the world. And it's, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So Soteria, you want to share some final thoughts or some additional thoughts?
Yeah, so when George Floyd was murdered, I started doing this courageous post every Friday. I asked on my timeline, was one courageous thing you did this week? And that was in response to people who just sit around and watch injustice happen. They pull out their cell phones, they ignore it. They're like, hey, I still got to get to my meeting and all that stuff. And the reason I started that movement is because I think even along with our identity, you have to start somewhere. And I think we want to make change very grandiose and, I want to, world peace. Well, can we just start with, forgiveness of what you did to somebody? How can we change ourselves and hold ourselves accountable? And I always share with people, even in doing some of the consulting work, is, the first time I was doing something courageous, it was like eating an artichoke, because I saw it and I was like, that looked real nasty. I don't want to do that. I was like, I don't know, I might die. It's horrible. And then I had it. Oh my God. It's like one of my favorite foods now. And I realized that it was fear because it was something that I didn't know. I never had it before. No one in my family ever talked about it. It was from my partner's family. And I was like, no, because white people, y'all do stuff and then kill us and y'all be fine. I'm not gonna be dead. That's how we be talking to each other. Right. So I had all these preconceived notions about what the artichoke was gonna do and how it was gonna kill me. And I realized that I just needed to start somewhere with doing something that made me uncomfortable. And so I'm not caught off guard by it. And that's really helped me in my life, and to see how many people respond to that post every single week. And some people are going to medical appointments. Some people are like, I said no, I set a boundary. Some people are like, I had a grandkid, it's just the range of what people feel courage is so wide. And I think it's so important when you talk about identity, because if we realize, that quote around when my liberation is caught up in yours, it's like when we start to really live that thing through, then we start to empower each other to say, hey, and we start to live the scripture. Really, you start to live what you really believe, and say that in your weakness, my strength will be made perfect. Mm-hmm. And there's not has to be some magical thing coming out the sky, but it's having your friends show up on a day that you just not having it. You're not feeling well. It's having a dog lay beside you in a moment that you're just sad and depressed. It's just these little God moments. Somebody called them before, that I try to live into. And so I always encourage people to do one courageous thing a week. And I don't define what courage is for them, because courage for me some morning is getting up. It's getting up and going through the day, and it might be hard, but still choosing life. And I have a friend that comments a lot. He was shot. And a lot of his posts every week is I chose life. I chose to get up. And we have no idea what people are going through or how they got there. So I would say around the identity is we don't have to be married to who we are or who we were or where we're going. And that's similarly to why we changed the coffee shop to present day, because a lot of people live in the past. And while I honor the past, and again, I'm trying to meet my future soteria, I want to be there. If I don't stop and breathe in this moment, then I neglect all the work and all the people that said, in this moment, I am enough. In this moment, what I have to give, I'm worthy already. And that's what I hope people will see when we talk about identity, is whatever the moment is, if you choose to live it to the best of your ability, I don't think you can do it wrong. And part of my platform is around living legacy, because I believe that people get celebrated so well when they die, which I can say IFC did something that was so beautiful. They dedicated a day to me at that organization where I was doing racial equity work. And I just found that so that's just how I want to live, because I don't know, I could go to sleep tonight and not wake up in the morning. And I ain't gonna lie, I feel like God gonna be well done, because I try to every single day. I've had so much death in the last month of my life, with family and sickness and COVID. And I just hope we truly start to understand how valuable every single moment and breath is. And we don't need tragedy to love. We don't need trauma to heal. You should live in a state of love. You should live in a state of healing. So yeah, that's my little 2 cents, my little rambling about that. But
that ain't no 2 cents. That's about a billion squared worth of wisdom. And listen, it was all true. like there's nothing to say after that. Like that, you just deposited, and I needed to hear that tonight, y'all. It was just so perfect.
I just wanted to say, Soteria, your Friday courageous post, I read it every week. And it is really meaningful and powerful for me. I post every once in a great while, and it's not because I don't feel like I'm not courageous. It's just that sometimes it's just like enough just to read that other people are being courageous, you know. And you know, taking that all in, you know, on every week is really great. And it reminds me every week that it's just one step at a time, that you don't have to go out and do everything at once. You don't have to have the loudest voice. You don't have to be pounding the streets and yelling, you know. It's just living. It's just living. It's all the little things in between. So I really thank you for that and appreciate you for that.
Definitely.
Yeah, this was amazing. I can't wait to hear this and play it back.
Yeah.
I want to hear what you said again.
Really great reminder that every day is valuable and precious.
Yeah. I'm also, it has not been made public yet, but I'm pretty much coming out with a clothing line as well. And so that will drop pretty soon. And it has like different like things that mean a lot to me. I have a legacy clothing line, living legacy clothing line, artivism clothing line. And what I'm really excited about is the courageous clothing line. And so with the holidays coming around, it's just like merchandise to help empower people to live in that state of being courageous. So you all are the first people I'm talking to about that publicly, the clothing line. So
thank you for
plus
sharing.
plus sizes. You got plus sizes, right?
Oh yeah. And then anything on the website, we can customize. If you don't see sizes, you reach out to me. We'll make it happen.
Wow.
So Soteria, you are a motivational speaker and a poet. You do shows and you have clothing lines. Where do people find you? How do people find you?
Beautiful. I am Soteria, IAMSOTERIA.com.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Mashallah, you got something?
Oh, I was literally gonna ask Renee's question, like.
Well, ladies, it's 8:00. I'm tired. It was so worth this. This was worth it.
Thank y'all so much. I don't know what's going on with my clock. I looked down and it said 7, like it was like 7:49. I was like, we've only been talking for 10 minutes. I don't know.
I need to say that the three of you are remarkable, and I'm so happy to have this time with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love y'all.
Thank you all so much for the invitation.
All right. Thank you. All right.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Bye. That was great.
That was amazing. So listen, we've got thank yous. I'm so glad. Didn't we say we were going to be thanking everybody that supported our launch, that became a part of our community, that gave us money, that gave us good advice, that just cares. So who do we have today? Renee, you want to start?
Yeah, I want to just lift up Dwayne Gilbert. He was the first person when we did our first campaign to reach out and give us money at the friend level. And the friend level is the $500 or more level. And he's like a good friend, an accountant, and he's helped me with my taxes for like 7 or 8 years now. And Stephanie, I believe you know him as well. And
I do. Dwayne is just an awesome guy. He's also helped Sweeties when we were needing some advice on accounting things. So Dwayne is awesome. Thank you, Dwayne. I also want to lift up Sally. I think I met Sally at the plant, at a function at the plant, like sometime last year, and I found out she was from Pennsylvania. And anyway, so surprising. We met like one time in person, a couple times in some Zoom meetings, and she came out to the launch, and she also supported us with 500. So that's awesome. Thank you, Sally.
And thank you to James O'Mara.
Yes. So James O'Mara is a Baha'i. and he has a great landscaping business. So James is a wonderful, wonderful, dear soul. And thank you, James. And
we have a Maria Marceri and Janice Balder. I don't know either of them.
Okay, well, we're going to get to know them. So this is awesome. This podcast is just so much fun. We were silly today, but we got it in. And we're going to move this earlier in the day because it's winter time. And listen, a sister needs her beauty rest.
Well, part of it is we're accommodating our guest speakers who can't, join us early in the morning, like when we were doing mornings. Before we go today, though, this is really hard for me, but we lost a dear friend this week. Our buddy Chuck Willingham, a member of
Everything.
our church, our racial equity groups, our Commonwealth Network, and he also, I knew him for like 15 years. He was part of my life in so many ways. Like he was here when I bought my house like 14 years ago, and he's just given me all kinds of like support and advice for so many years. And then when we started working WEBB Squared, he was there.
He was right there. I mean, Chuck, he organized my first commercial kitchen. He found the location for us and helped us move in. Chuck has just been amazing. He used to come to my house. I helped him move from his house. I used to cook dinner for him and drop off food when he moved into his new apartment. 1,001 conversations about race and race equity and justice and Black people and white people. And I mean, he just was a true ally. And, he was an activist. He cared about justice and he practiced what he preached. So, man, that was hard news to get this week. It was just really, really hard. And he was right there in the very beginning when we birthed WEBB Squared, asking us the questions that we needed to answer. So the hard questions, right? So that we could really get our act together.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna miss him.
It's hard, when I get a loss like this. It's like what I want to do so much is like hear their voice and to talk with him this week, and knowing that I can't just call and say, "Hey, how are you?" And
so he transitioned, but we know that he's still with us on the other side of the veil. Yeah. And so we love you, Chuck.
We do. You're in our hearts.
Yeah. And until next time, we will see y'all next week.
Yeah. We have a catchphrase, Stephanie.
Yeah. Yes.
The revolution
begins with dialogue. That means y'all need to be talking.
And you can talk to us.
Exactly. Bye-bye.
This has been a joint podcast of WEBB Squared and Afro Future Productions. For those of you interested in learning more about our work at WEBB Squared, you can find out more at webbsquared.org. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. This is our conscious conversation. We hope you will subscribe today on your favorite podcast platform. Join the Remedy Membership Forum on Patreon to join us monthly for our members-only discussion. That's it for today. Until next week, thanks for listening. What's underneath the situation you don't realize? So let's examine with a critical eye. Put on your glasses and let it magnify the truth that lies hidden under all those lies. Cause everybody has nobility, and if you look beyond what your eyes can see, you'll see